We are back. For what? This is almost as bad as last Wednesday. We are back to study John 10. Ezekiel 34. Boy, your enthusiasm is overwhelming. Please restrain yourselves. Okay, last week I said read for Ezekiel 34 as background for John 10. And I'll go ahead and read through for the benefit of those at home and also just for our benefit so we get, I don't know if I'll read all of this, but Ezekiel chapter 34, the word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, prophesy against the shepherds of Israel, prophesy and say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says, woe! Okay, we've been talking Looney Tunes, haven't we? There's a great one with Yosemite Sam where he's out in the desert with the camel. Whoa, camel, whoa! I said, whoa! I'm sorry, the kid, watching with the kids. When I say whoa, I mean whoa. Boy, we're off to a great start. Okay. Woe, woe to the shepherds of Israel who only take care of themselves, self-serving. Should not shepherds take care of the flock? You eat the curds, clothe yourselves with the wool, and slaughter the choice animals, but you do not take care of the flock. You have not, and then listen to all of these things that shepherds are supposed to be doing. You have not strengthened the weak, or healed the sick, or bound up the injured. Think of this in Jesus' miracles. What does Jesus do with the blind, the lame, the crippled, all of these? So there we have that image. You know, I think a lot of times, and I'm the same way, we sort of think of the miracles sort of in isolation. Jesus did all these things, but we don't necessarily make the connection to something like this, that as he's doing this, you can think of Jesus as a shepherd as he's taking care of his flock. If I don't know if I'm communicating that well enough, but you can sort of run through Jesus' ministry and look through the lens of Jesus as the good shepherd. And you can do that with other aspects. But that's the one that pops to mind here. You have not brought back the strays or searched for the lost. You have ruled them harshly and brutally. So they were scattered because there was no shepherd. And when they were scattered, they became food for all the wild animals. My sheep wandered over all the mountains and on every high hill. They were scattered over the whole earth, and no one searched or looked for them. Therefore, you shepherds, hear the word of the Lord. As I surely live, declares the sovereign Lord. So he's basically, it's an oath. Because my flock lacks a shepherd, and so has been plundered and has become food for all the wild animals, and because my shepherds did not search for my flock, but cared for themselves rather than for my flock, therefore, O shepherds, hear the word of the Lord. One thing that popped through my mind as I was reading, and I think it's in one of the other Gospels, the version of the feeding of the 5,000, where it makes the reference that he looks on the people compassion, and he makes I think he actually makes the comment that they are scattered like sheep without a shepherd. And so that, in part, ties right back to here. This is what the sovereign Lord says: I am against the shepherds and will hold them accountable for my flock. I will remove them from tending the flock so that the shepherds can no longer feed themselves. I will rescue my flock from their mouths, and it will no longer be food for them. For this is what the sovereign Lord says: I myself, and here again, he's saying, I'm going to do this. He's not going to act through the intermediacy of the shepherds, because if you want something done right, do it yourself. And that's basically what he's saying here. I myself will search for my sheep and look after them. As a shepherd looks after his scattered flock when he is with them, so will I look after my sheep. I will rescue them. Look at all of these verbs. Verbs are action words. All of these God is active. It was popular, in the, I think during the Enlightenment, for those who actually still believed in God, that God was sort of like the ancient, like the, what do they say? The watchmaker. That, okay, God created everything, and he designed the universe like a beautiful mechanical watch. He wound it up, and then he just let it go on its own, but he's not actively involved in earthly affairs. No. God is actively involved, and he acts for his people. When it says that the Lord remembers his people, it's not as though he forgot. It's like, oh, I've got people. When it says that the Lord remembers his people, it means he acts on their behalf. God is a God of action. And all these beautiful verbs. I will rescue them from all the places where they were scattered on a day of clouds and darkness. What does that sound like? Crucifixion, right? Excuse me. Sounds like the day of the crucifixion. I will bring them out from the nations. What does that bring to mind? Pardon? The exile? Yeah, the exile. They exiled to Babylon, and the northern tribes exiled to the four corners. New Testament, though, what that language, what does that remind you of? Matthew 28, 19 through 20. Go and make disciples, all nations, gathering his flock from all the nations. And gather them from the countries, and I will bring them into their own land. I will pasture them on the mountains of Israel, in the ravines, and in all the settlements in the land. I will tend them in a good pasture, and the mountains heights of Israel will be their grazing land. They will lie down. What does that remind you of? Psalm 23. Isn't this beautiful? I think I've mentioned this to you before. At least when I read the scriptures, well, and just in general, I shouldn't really say, but just in general, my mind is like a popcorn machine at the movie theater. As you're reading along, it's like pop, pop, pop. Psalm 23, Matthew 28, 19 is like boom, pop, pop, pop. They there will lie down in good grazing land, and they will feed on a rich pasture on the mountains of Israel. I myself will tend my sheep and have them lie down, declares the sovereign Lord. I will search for the lost and bring back the strays. I will bind up the injured and strengthen the weak. But the sleek and the strong I will destroy. So there is a strong element of judgment here. I will shepherd the flock with justice. As for you, my flock, yes, Nancy, Nicodemus.
Thank you. That verse 16 that you just read.
Yes.
Mine doesn't sound as harsh as yours does. Because mine says, I will strengthen the weak, and the fat and the strong I will watch over. But yours sounded angry.
Yeah. I would have to look up in the original Hebrew to what version is yours?
Revised Standard.
Because usually if anything's going to be sort of softened, I guess it would be the NIV. I'd have to look that up. Write that down, and I'll look that up for next time, because I don't have my Hebrew Bible or dictionary. Because when I read the Bible in Hebrew, I need my dictionary. Yeah, there is a difference, isn't there? Okay, I will shepherd the flock with justice. That's a very strong theme throughout the Bible of justice. And God is the God of the fatherless and the widow. He argues their cause. And the oppressed, the weak and the oppressed. As for you, my flock, this is what the sovereign Lord says: I will judge between one sheep and another, and between rams and goats. What does that sound like? Pardon? The last days, and where in the New Testament? Well, Revelation, but before that.
Matthew 24.
Matthew 25, the parable of the sheep and the goats. And he will sit on, Son of Man will sit on his throne, and he will divide his people as a shepherd divides the sheep and the goats, and the sheep on the right, the goats on the left. Is it not enough for you to feed on the good pasture? Must you also trample the rest of your pasture with your feet? So now he's talking not to the shepherds, but he's addressing the flock. Is it not enough for you to drink clear water? Must you also muddy the rest with your feet? Must my flock feed on what you have trampled and drink what you have muddied with your feet? Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says to them. See, I myself will judge between the fat sheep and the lean sheep. Because you shove with flank and shoulder, butting all the weak sheep with your horns until you have driven them away. And this dynamic can manifest itself sometimes in congregations, where congregations, break up in are different factions. And you may have a faction that think that they own the place, and they push the rest of the sheep around.
Well, would that go also to the pastors?
Well, yes, that was the verses before, when he was addressing the shepherds. Here, he's addressing the flock.
Yeah.
So up until verse 16,
Yeah.
there he was chastising the shepherds, so bring it up to modern day pastors, that the various abuses that pastors can do. But now, verse 17 on, he's turned from talking to the shepherds, and now he's talking to the flock. Okay?
Well, that is a good example of that saying that you choose your friends wisely.
Yes. Yeah.
So go, how does it go? I don't remember exactly how it goes. Who you associate with is who you are.
Bad company corrupts good morals. Yeah. Just like you are what you eat, you are who you meet. How's that?
You need to bring that up.
After this about the judging between the fat and the lean, I think maybe we should do a congregational diet challenge or something like that. No, you don't think so. Okay. But here you have within congregations, one group basically oppressing another group, shoving them around, and also withholding, through their influence, withholding the nourishment from them. Okay. I will save my flock. Well, in the basically bring it to the first century, who were the fat sheep that were shouldering out the weak and keeping them from feeding? Who gave Jesus the biggest trouble? The Pharisees and the scribes. And, they won't lift one finger. They weigh down the people with many burdens, and you won't lift one finger to help them. You have the key to knowledge. You yourselves won't enter, and you prevent others from entering in. So in Jesus' ministry, all of his conflict with the Pharisees and other religious leaders, here you have the shepherd dealing not only with the shepherds, but also with these factions within his flock. I will save my flock, and they will no longer be plundered. I will judge between one sheep and another. I will place over them one shepherd, my servant David. Now, we get into the Trinity here, but who is that referring to? The one shepherd, my servant David, and he will tend them. He will tend them and be their shepherd. Who's that referring to? Christ. Yeah, that's referring to Jesus. The promised Messiah, the son of David. David was promised that one of his descendants would sit on his throne forever. So here, if we want to sort of break down, the Trinity, it's the Father who is speaking, and he's speaking about sending his Son. And so the hope of Israel, especially after the kingdom was abolished, the coming of the Christ would be that he would rule on the throne of his father David, and that he would rule with justice and righteousness, and that he would fill all these attributes. He would do all of these actions outlined here in Ezekiel 34 and elsewhere. And so when Jesus comes along and he says, I am the good shepherd, he's saying, I'm the one talked about in verse 23 of Ezekiel 34. I am the good shepherd. He's also, I am the good shepherd of Psalm 23. All of these things coming together here with what Jesus says in John 10. I, the Lord, will be their God. That's covenant language. I will be their God and they will be my people. It's a relationship. And my servant David will be prince among them. I, the Lord, have spoken. Does God ever lie? No. If God says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. I mean, he may not do it right away, but he's going to do it. I will make a covenant of peace with them, and rid the land of wild beasts, so that they may live in the desert and sleep in the forest in safety. I will make a covenant of peace. What does that bring to mind? We just celebrated this Holy Communion. Take, eat, this is my body. Take, drink. This cup is the new covenant or New Testament in my blood. And it's a covenant of peace. God promises, Jeremiah 32:33, their sins and iniquities I will remember no more. I will forgive them. I will give them a new heart. Create in me a clean heart, O God. I am off key, but that's okay. This covenant of peace, God was in Christ reconciling the world to himself, right? And so after the consecration of the Lord's Supper, what does Christ, through the pastoral office, what does he declare to you? The peace of the Lord be with you. Yes, because that peace has been made. Therefore, he gives you eternal life so that you can live in the desert and sleep in the forest in safety. You don't have to worry about wild beasts. And then at the very end, you receive the Aaronic benediction. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. We sang the Nunc Dimittis this morning, Song of Simeon. Lord, now lettest thou thy servant depart in peace, for your word has been fulfilled. Peace, 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 peace I give to you. I leave with you. My peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, do I give unto you. You see, all of this just ties together so beautifully. Do you want to know that you have peace with God? That God is not angry with you because of your sin? Go to the sacrament. There you see tangibly, there you taste and see that the Lord is good, one of the Psalms. There, those who hunger and thirst after righteousness are filled. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I will make a covenant with peace with them and I will bless them, Aaronic benediction, and the places surrounding my hill, which is Zion. I will send down showers in season. There will be showers of blessing. So showers, water, life. It'll be very, very, very Eden-like. The trees of the field will yield their fruit, and the ground will yield its crops. The exact opposite of the curse, right? The people will be secure in their land. They will know that I am the Lord. And that's a phrase that recurs throughout the Old Testament. And a lot of times where God is judging the nations, then they will know that I am the Lord and their gods are idols. They will know that I am the Lord when I break the bars of their yoke. Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy burdened, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light.
It says that a lot,
Yeah.
through the desert,
Yep.
through the wilderness, yes, he has
Yep. I am the Lord. Okay, break the bars and rescue them from the hands of those who enslaved them. That echoes back to Exodus, where the children of Israel were bound in slavery. It also points forward to our reading from the epistle this morning from Galatians. The child of Ishmael, the son of the slave woman. And there we have the two covenants, the Sinai covenant and the new covenant. We were once slaves of unrighteousness. Now we're slaves of righteousness. Paul brings in this language in Romans. They will no longer be plundered by the nations, nor will wild animals devour them. They will live in safety, and no one will make them afraid. I will provide for them a land renowned for its crops, and they will no longer be victims of famine in the land or bear the scorn of the nations. He feeds his people abundantly. Sounds like this morning, doesn't it? Being of the 5,000. Then they will know that I, the Lord their God, am with them, and that they, the house of Israel, are my people, declares the sovereign Lord. So that expands on that. I am their God, and they will be my people. And that the Lord is with them. The Lord is with us. Not in some sort of... God is a God who is present among us, not a God who is distant. He is Emmanuel, God with us. God dwells among his people. We can't go back into Eden, so he comes out of Eden to dwell with us. We can't dwell on Mount Sinai, so he comes down to dwell in a tent, to tabernacle with the Israelites.
His presence is with us always.
Yes. And how do we know that he is present with us? In the Word and in the sacraments. If you want to see God, listen to the Word and receive his sacrament. That's where you find Jesus. He is locatable. You, my sheep, the sheep of my pasture, are people. And I am your God, declares the sovereign Lord. So, I think next week, we've pretty well covered the first part of John 10 on the shepherd. Really quick, any questions on that first, the whole I am the good shepherd area of John 10? Now, not all at once, settle down.
Well, I think we can bring that into everyday life, into our life. Now,
Yes.
That we should do that in order to help understand. We have false prophets constantly all the time.
We have to beware of false prophets who muddy the waters and trample on the pasture.
And people who are trying to destroy our way of life and closing our churches and keeping them closed.
Mm-hmm.
This is one good way of trying to take away our religion, our faith, and we have people in our midst that are doing the devil's work, that is constantly pulling at us and trying to get us to go astray.
Very true.
We have so many things. The devil is really at work in
Though devils all the world shall fill, and take they our life, goods, fame, child, or wife, let these all be gone, they still have nothing won, the King of Mars remaineth.
And speak up for our faith and for our salvation. And we need to be in His Word. When you are really in His Word, you are walking and talking with God.
Yes, very
And
true.
your prayers are such too. And we want to give Him thanks for all the blessings that He has bestowed upon us. We don't even realize some of the blessings until after that.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Well, we need to close up because I got catechumens waiting. So have a wonderful week, everyone.
All right, same to you.
All right.